Today we are going to make soap using freshly brewed green tea. I'm going to really focus on the process of making this soap, and the recipe and the amounts will be listed in the description. I am using the heat transfer method to make this soap because I am limited on time. If you have the time, I really recommend just weighing out your oils, melting them down to a liquid, preparing your lye water mixture or lye green tea mixture in this case, and letting it sit until it cools down to about between 90 degrees Fahrenheit to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. This will make it so that it will prevent a crack forming in your soap, and also your soap won't trace as quickly on you. As you'll see in this video, this soap traced pretty quickly on me. Let's talk about how I am using the green tea. So I freshly brewed organic green tea, and what I'm doing is I am using that as my liquid that I am adding my sodium hydroxide to. So if you were to put a recipe in a lye calculator, instead of using your filtered water or distilled water, you would be using your green tea. Also, I want to make a note that I brewed this green tea in filtered water. So I recommend doing that with your filtered water or distilled water as well. That will really help to prevent any impurities showing up in your soap. So after I mixed together my sodium hydroxide and my freshly brewed green tea, I immediately poured it over my oils so that I can melt down my hard oils and butters. When you add lye to a liquid, it creates a lot of heat. So we are using that to melt down our hard oils and butters. This method just saves a lot of time from having to melt down your oils and make your lye water mixture and then have it sit for a couple hours. But like I said, this is a more advanced method of soap making, and I feel that it is much easier to just melt down your oils and prepare your lye water mixture and let it sit for a couple hours than doing this. But like I said, I was very limited on time, so here we go. Now that it looks like everything has emulsified together well, I'm adding my essential oils and I'm going to add my matcha that I prepared earlier in the video to the soap. I am using eucalyptus essential oil and a tiny bit of pine essential oil for this soap. I just felt like eucalyptus really pairs well with green tea and soap. My goal for this bar of soap was for it to be very soothing. Green tea has high levels of antioxidants and it is very anti-inflammatory for the skin. Also, the oils I chose are very moisturizing. As you can see in the video, that soap was starting to form into a medium trace. So it is time to quickly get it in the mold so that I can start texturizing it before it becomes too hard to even work with. Unfortunately, my camera barely focused on everything I'm doing for this part of the video. It can be hard to film content and be working on something at the same time, especially in situations like this where you're trying to work fast and your soap is starting to trace. So here I am, just trying to make sure it's all pushed down into that mold, and then I'm going to start texturizing the top. I went ahead and I started texturizing the top with a spoon, but then I decided that I didn't really like the direction I was going with this. I never really have a plan in mind as I'm making soap. I kind of just like to go for it. By the time I went ahead and texturized it that second time, that soap was completely done, way too hard to be able to work with anymore, but I am still very happy with it. So then I set the soap aside and I wrapped it up in a beach towel to insulate it. The reason I insulate the soap is to keep it from forming that large crack on the top, which is especially likely when you do the heat transfer method. So always be aware of that. I let it sit for 24 hours until it felt like it was hard enough to unmold. And unfortunately, I apparently did not press play when I went to cut this soap. I was so bummed when I looked at my camera later and I saw that. I am much better at filming on my phone. I'm definitely feeling the learning curve of working with the camera on this one. Now it is going to sit on the shelf and it's going to cure for about 1 month. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more soap making content.